Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor
and his cousin
and his friend
gives you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides. For the latest updates, information, and picks, you can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. You can follow my cousin Jared on Twitter at Cousin Jared. You can follow our friend Jake on Twitter at My Friend Jake. This college football episode covers select games from week 4 of the 2022 season. We're going to wrap out the slate. Every game will have been covered in previous episodes or this one. In case you're new here, I built a model, predicts what the spread should be for every FBS college football game, and information along with each team's power rating and a graded A, B, or C pick, either now or coming later. For every game is available in the Google Sheet that is linked in the show's description. Do what you want with these picks, all of them, some of them or none of them. Take what you like and leave the rest. Our goals in this episode are to share key information about this week's games, give you a few things to think on, and explain why certain plays are being made in order for you to come up with picks that you are comfortable with. We never recommend blindly tailing or fading any pick, but rather to hear the justifications and thought processes to make sure you're fully on board with us or against us before investing your hard-earned money. And as you go through the plays, remember that there are no locks in gambling, so I'll give you our loves, likes, and leans indicate my confidence level with respect to scaling wagers. Cousin Jared and Jake will also be utilizing a weighted unit scale this college football season, and as always, please remember that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as we'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every week, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Guys, I have 2 questions for you. We've got 26 games, I think, to cover in this episode. So question number 1, will this episode exceed 2 hours? Get your wagers in now.
Yes, the over for sure.
Yeah. Over? Okay. We're going to timestamp all these, dear listeners, so you don't have to watch it all at one sitting. You can come back and get the information that you want whenever you want. The timestamps are in the show's description. Question number 2, since we're going over 2 hours and all the coffee I'm drinking to stay awake here, am I going to have to pause this and go pee in the middle of the episode? I feel like it's going to get dangerously close the longer we go.
I have faith in you. You've recorded a lot of shows at this point.
Right.
I have faith. I
believe in you.
It's yet to happen, but I feel like I'm more tired today, so the coffee's just been a little bit higher. So I feel like if we go 2 hours, I feel like we're in trouble.
Yeah. Nobody will ever know. Nobody will know. Sure.
Nobody will ever know, right? It'll be a mystery. That's the power of editing. All right. Well, before we get to today's show, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and you can ensure you don't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. A reminder, we've started up a Patreon page for those of you looking to support the show. Membership starts at just $3 per month. Benefits include things like the access to play of the day for college football. Again, on Saturday, I'll have a play of the time slot. So I'll have 4 college football plays that I love for you there. The Discord, we would just chat about line movements, games, all sorts of fun stuff. Ad-free shows, early access to shows, early access to projected spreads, a lot of benefits there on that Patreon page. Like we said, 26 games, I think, so let's get to it. All lines courtesy of BetOnline. Sign up link in the show's description. And current as of the time of this recording, it is Wednesday night, September 21st. We got to cover 2 Thursday games. The first one, I think, is going to be a fantastic game. Honestly, though, with regards to wagering on it, I feel like it's more of a let's learn for the future than let's try to profit on this one. That's just my take on it. I think West Virginia is the better team, but the game's at Virginia Tech. I'm going to take West Virginia, lay the 1.5. It's a C-grade pick. I think they're the better team. I think they can win, but I mean, going into Virginia Tech on a Thursday night is not the easiest thing to do. So it's not a game I have a lot of confidence in. I think we'll learn a lot, though. Is Virginia Tech actually better than just mediocre, or if West Virginia goes in and wins handily, does that mean West Virginia actually, is capable of being maybe a top 30, top 35 type team? A lot of questions of this game I think will get answered. For the moment, model says this should be a 1.7 point spread. So it says pretty well priced. I've got West Virginia ranked 49th and Virginia Tech 68th. And what should be a fun rivalry game here. Total of 55.5. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
Man, I think I've mentioned it in one of the earlier shows, but I am not off of West Virginia, even after the loss to Pitt and the loss to Kansas. I'm not off of them. I think Pitt is a pretty decent team. And we'll talk about them later. Is Kansas a pretty decent team this year?
Apparently.
Yeah. And so in both of those games, they kind of had West Virginia had backbreaking turnovers. And so if they just, it's almost not even like if you don't have the turnovers, just don't have the turnovers at their worst possible time. And their season, I think, could look a lot different right now.
Give yourself time to make up for that bad turnover.
Exactly.
Yeah, do it the first quarter, and you got time to recover. Don't do it at the
very end of game or in overtime. Yeah. So So I think that the model is spot on this one. I think it's a well-priced game, but I would definitely lean West Virginia just because I like what I've seen, and they just got like one or two tiny things to clean up, and I think they're going to be playing really well. Whereas Virginia Tech's just kind of been up and down, had some major issues on offense at times. So I think West Virginia is a more complete team, and if they play the way that they should and just eliminate some of those small mistakes, I think they could win this one by much more than what the line is.
Yeah, and I agree. That's exactly why I have a lean on West Virginia with the Seager pick. That would indicate lean out. I'm in the exact same way. That's the direction I lean. My only concern is I think you make a great point with if West Virginia doesn't throw a backbreaking turnover, in overtime to Kansas, maybe they don't lose the game, but they were still in overtime with Kansas at home. And I know that Kansas has much improved. We will give them all the love later in the show. But if you're at home in overtime with Kansas, how good are you? And
that probably says something.
Yeah, and that's why, again, it's had they gone and beaten what we think is a much better Kansas team by 21, I'd be like, heck yeah, lay less than a field goal in this game. But it's like I'm a little bit. I think that's the right direction. I think Kansas is actually pretty solid, but there's concerns on both sides of the ball. I think on this one,
definitely.
Jake, I know you're still high on West Virginia.
Yeah, I still like West Virginia. I think they've played two pretty good teams this year, and unfortunately dropped them with backbreak turnovers like we talked about. But Virginia Tech's not really played anybody, so we don't have a great read on their defense. But, I mean, they did give up a touchdown to Wolford, who hadn't scored since like halfway through last year. They hadn't seen the end zone, and they gave up so. I mean, I don't know if they were being nice or that was just bad defense. I don't know.
I'm guessing they weren't being nice. I'm going to go on a limb and say that one.
I mean, their quarterback Wells, he threw 4 interceptions to Old Dominion, which is kind of crazy, and he only has 4 touchdowns on the year. I just don't think they've got enough offensively, and we don't know enough about their defense to say their defense will keep them in the game yet. So especially with this short line, I'm taking West Virginia because we know what JT Daniels can do. He's got a really good receiver in Bryce Ford Wheaton. So those two will hook up very good. They've got a pretty good running back. And one of the when I was looking into the stats of this, one of the ones that really stuck out is the third down conversion rate. West Virginia is sitting around 51%, which is the coin toss. But Virginia Tech's at 29%, and that's not good because you're going to hit a lot of third downs, whether it's a good or bad defense. If you're never completing them, it's not good for your offense.
Yep. All right, so you have an official pick on West Virginia,
yes,
correct?
Yeah, I'm on West Virginia.
All right, the other Thursday game, 7:30 Eastern, Coastal Carolina at Georgia State. I love Coastal Carolina in this spot. They've been a little disappointing this season, but laying only 2 on the road, I think, is a solid pick. It's an A grade for me. Model says it should be 3.3. The 2 most likely outcomes for this are 3 and 4, and the probability of landing on 2, as we talked about, has increased, especially this year, and you get the push protection there. At 2.5, this was a little bit – I'm probably good still laying the 2.5, but at 2 at -110 odds, it's an A grade pick for me. Again, a disappointing team, but I still think Coastal Carolina is a lot better than Georgia State. Georgia State's barely hanging into the top 100. Because as you talked about yesterday, Coastal Carolina, a team that, while being disappointing, we still at least think they have enough competency there to be not terrible, right? They should be able to go on the road and get the job done. A grade play for me, laying a short number like 2, total of 62. What do you think, Cousin Jared?
I have lost the ability to say anything about these two teams. Coastal, I thought for sure they were going to cover against Buffalo after Buffalo lost to Holy Cross, and they did not. And Georgia State, they had looked, in my opinion, they had looked pretty decent against South Carolina and North Carolina. And, I thought that they were going to just destroy Charlotte. And I know Charlotte had their starting quarterback come back. But
yes, Ryan Reynolds came back.
Or Chris Reynolds, whichever one works. And so I was really just surprised by Charlotte looking so bad the first few weeks of the season and then having a big bounce back against Georgia State. So I'm saying all of this to say I have no feel about this game. I have lost the ability to handicap either one of these teams. So I'm just going to sit this one out.
Yeah, and you make a good point there about Charlotte. We talked about Chris Reynolds being so important to that offense. He gets injured in the first quarter, I believe, or around the first quarter break of game 1. Their season derails, and their backup gets hurt in the second game. I played Charlotte last week thinking he might come back. He does, and they look a whole lot better. Charlotte's still not a good team, but with him in there, I mean, he makes a world of difference. So it makes handicapping Georgia State a little bit of a question mark, absolutely. That's kind of why we have the model, right, to try to help us make sense of all of this madness. Again, my main play is Coastal Carolina, though I think, they didn't beat Buffalo by a lot, right? They did win close one, I think, by 12 or so. They won this one by 7 or whatever. We'll say a lot of numbers,
Yeah.
like I said, and they cover it. It's unlikely they won by 1. So my play's more on Coastal Carolina than Georgia State because, like you said, there are question marks there. Jake, what do you have for us on this one?
Yeah, right now I'm staying away. I can't trust either of these teams to do what I need them to do. I'm leaning towards Coastal, but it's not an official play right now. I think they might be the better team, but they both seem to play whatever pace their opponent's kind of going to play, and that doesn't work out well for them because they're not as good at it as the other team is. And so I think that they get caught up in the game flow and forget what they're doing. So I don't know. Like I said, I lean Coastal, but I'm not making an official play yet.
And with what we saw from Coastal in years past, they should be able to dominate the style of this game. They just haven't been able to do it this year like they did last year. Obviously, they weren't, a top 20 team or whatever, and they had that one magical year, but they had a good record, but they obviously weren't as good as the record. It was a weaker schedule, right? But they've been much better than this, and they've been able to dominate games, and it just hasn't worked out for them. But you got to think it's still kind of there. It's not, same quarterback, so it's not like it's right. Obviously, they've lost some other pieces, but we know it's there somewhere deep down if they can find it. Maybe Thursday night here's their kind of statement of, hey, we're going to get this. We're going to get the ship going the right direction. Yeah,
I would love to because it's fun when they're good.
Absolutely,
colors, everything they do is just a fun team. And
being like the only teal university in FCS, I love it. I love teal's like a fun color. We should have more teal in the world. Noon Eastern, Kent State at Georgia. Oh boy. Model says Georgia minus 44. I'm going to take Georgia minus 45 with the B grade. I think Georgia is all year going to break the model. It does not realize just how good they are. I don't think it can. It's the outlier of all outliers. Georgia's offense is actually starting to passing offense is starting to look like actually really good. And you pair that with their defense, and this is scary. They could put their backups in, and their backups could wipe the floor with Kent State. I just don't think this is going to go well for Kent State. It's a B grade pick, laying 45. I like the minus 105 odds, and I like that it's at 45. 45 and a half. 45 is a very possible number that it lands on. So we have push protection. This game could easily be, 52-7. It's kind of where it projects in that ballpark. So push protection on 45. I like laying 45. I don't like laying 45 and a half as much. But this Georgia team is so scary good. I don't think anybody would be surprised if they won 63-0 or, 59-0 or something like that. So I'm going to lay it with Georgia. They're just ridiculously good. It's a B grade pick for me. It's a lot of points, but I think they can still just run the ball down Georgia's throat. Down Kent State's throat, even in the fourth quarter, and keep scoring. Kissinger, what do you think?
I would tell everybody here, be wary of the under 61.5 because Kent State plays fast, and that's going to lead to a lot of fast 3-and-outs, and Georgia could potentially have the ball a lot in this game. And I know that Georgia likes to throttle it down, doesn't like to run up the score, but it could just be that there's so many possessions in this game that they end up scoring a lot of points just by how many possessions they have. But what I would say is, so I get this from BetStamp because, all of the plays we make, we like to have receipts for it and everything. So there's one Kent State team total out there. If either of you had to guess what the Kent State team total is, what would you guess that it is?
10.
6.5.
7.5. The under is minus 120. How? That seems like a solid, right? I'm kind of trying to talk myself into this. That seems like a solid play, right?
Yeah. The only way you're going to tell what's going to happen in this game is if you know Kirby and you call him, and because he can decide exactly what's going to happen in this game.
That is true.
I don't know.
I think, like you said, it's that Kent State plays fast, all the possessions.
Yeah. Maybe they luck into a field goal. You're right. Maybe they get a touchdown somehow, and then they luck into a field goal at some point. You're right. So maybe that's how it loses, but it seems kind of appealing to me.
Yeah. I'm kind of almost talking.
That's why I would have put it. That's why I would have put it at 6.5.
Yeah.
I'm almost kind of talking myself into Georgia here now. This is I forgot how fast Kent State likes to play. And this is their first true home game, isn't it, Georgia?
No, I think they played like an FCS team in week 2, I think.
Yeah. They played Samford. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And they put 63 up on them or something crazy like that. I feel like
33. They kind of played with their food. They played with their food the whole game.
Yeah. So, man, I don't know. I'm not officially playing it yet. That's what I'm looking at, but because they really can, and not even just with these small schools, even teams like some worse or weaker Power 5 teams, they can go out there and just decide what the score is going to be, and that's exactly what happens. So if they decide they want to win this one by 50, they will. But oh man, I want to, but I'm not doing it quite yet.
It's a lot of points, but I think like you were saying, Cousin Jared, the faster pace, just more likely that Georgia just not that they would ever accidentally score, because if they want to keep scoring, they will. But at some point, they're going to not be trying, but they will accidentally not be trying because they're going to have to score. And so it's a lot of points, but I just feel like this might get ugly. It's just not a good matchup.
I think it helps when they're home, because then you have like the walk-ons and stuff. Maybe Kirby tries to get them a touchdown or something like in front of mom and dad at home when you got, I think, like the roster expands like 10 times the normal size.
Or the second string who's a senior who didn't play a lot, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So maybe.
All right, noon Eastern, Baylor and Iowa State. Should be a really good game here. Model has Baylor ranked 20th, Iowa State 33rd. Model says it should be Baylor minus 1.7. I'm going to grab the 2.5 with Baylor. It's a B grade pick for me. I'd really like getting 3, just that push protection, the most common score for close college football games. Most common score, period, for college football games, but especially for close ones. I think Baylor's got a chance to win this game. It should be a tight game. It's kind of one of those give me the points, give me the plus odds type thing. If you want to look money line, I think I was seeing about plus 115. Same idea. It's a toss-up game. Baylor's the better team, but on the road. It's not drastically different than West Virginia, Virginia Tech that we already talked about, but it's just slightly better teams in both regards. Both teams have a few questions, but I think fewer than the West Virginia, Virginia Tech. It should be a good game. I'm going to take the points or again the plus odds on the money line either way. B grade pick for me on Baylor. Total 45. Cousin Jordan, what do you think?
I don't have a feel on this total, which is kind of strange for me, but I completely agree with your assessment. I think Baylor plus 115 on the money line seems like a decent investment there. I think the way that I would break this down is that I feel like Baylor got a bigger test from BYU than Iowa State did from Iowa. And obviously I'm not talking about Iowa's defense, but I don't feel like we can say anything confidently about Iowa State's defense at this point, just because of how bad Iowa's offense is. So I feel from an entire team and how well-rounded they are, I feel like I know more about Baylor in this spot. The model agrees with me, get potential, plus odds at the plus 115. So it's not an official play for me, but definitely if I had to lean, pick a direction, I think I would take Baylor on the money line.
Jake?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to play here. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm a little worried about Baylor's defense. They're not forcing turnovers even against the cupcakes teams they're playing, and that scares me because in a tight game like this will be a rock fight game. It'll be incredible to watch, but that losing the turnover battle decides the game. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not making an official play here yet. I think Brock for Iowa State's a pretty good running back. He had over 100 yards against Iowa's defense, which everybody wants to say how great that is. That's somewhat impressive for him to get over 100 then. So I don't know. I can't decide on this one, so I'm probably just going to avoid it. But
All right. Noon Eastern, Central Michigan at Penn State. I backed Penn State all 3 games this year. Won all 3 of them. I'm going the other direction on this one. I've got an A-grade play on Central Michigan at plus 28, even money. Love the odds here. Love the push protection on 28. Penn State's going to win this game, but I don't know if they can win it by this much. They're obviously a really good team, but after the Auburn win last week, I feel like this is kind of more of a letdown spot. This is, these MAC schools played the Big Ten schools, and that doesn't mean that they win a lot of these games, but it's kind of their Super Bowl up until you get to, a late conference game or a rival or something like that. 28 just seems like too many points here. Model says 26. Like I said, I love the even money, love the push protection. Most likely outcomes for this game are 28 and 27. I win one, I push the other. And again, I just think it's too many points for a letdown spot for Penn State after such a huge win last week. Total 63. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Completely agree. I think it's a great spot to back Central Michigan and Penn State, 2 cupcake games in a row, Central Michigan and then Northwestern. So, they can just take it easy the next 2 weeks.
Hey, yo. And then a bye week before the big Michigan game.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 buys in a row, basically.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I forgot to mark this one down. I want Central Michigan here too. It's a big letdown spot. Even though Auburn's not very good, playing in Jordan Hare, going there and winning is a big moment. I don't think Penn State's going to run up the score, especially when seeing what they've got coming next. They're going to work on stuff. But I think having that 5-star freshman quarterback come in has really made Sean Clifford up his game. And so he looked really good. He gave him a little bit of competition back there, made him earn it. And I think he looks really good. This Penn State, the way their schedule breaks, might be worth a flyer on them to win is it Big Ten East? The East? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I know Ohio State's there, but you're going to be looking at plus odds flyer because I think they even get Ohio State at home. So that might it might work out. Their schedule might work out for them for a decent little flyer there. But I like Central Michigan here to keep it within this number, and especially when it's even money. I like making a little extra, chasing plus signs sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got Penn State a top 10 team. Again, I think they're a great team. Like you said, even though Auburn's not good, that's anytime you go into an SEC school, a traditional SEC school, I don't feel like people might feel that way about Missouri necessarily, right? But or Vanderbilt, of course. But like other than Vanderbilt, anytime you go into a traditional true SEC school and get a road victory, even if the team's not as good, it's probably a sellout crowd. It's probably a raucous environment. You feel good about it, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a down Auburn or if it's LSU or if it's, it doesn't, Georgia back when Georgia was beatable, right? South Carolina. It's like, I feel like you feel good about all those games. So a lot of points here for the week after.
And when we talk about weird things happening in Syracuse, like weird things happen at Jordan-Hare. Like that's where they kick six and
right.
Miracle and Jordan-Hare and all that come from. Just like weird things seem to happen there. So it's, I'd say impressive. And the way they won was also very impressive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really was. Also at noon Eastern, Buffalo at Eastern Michigan. Speaking of impressive wins last week, obviously Eastern Michigan, we were all over them against Arizona State. Got a coach fired. Oh, look, I think anytime you can get a coach fired, I feel like that's all you're talking about the next week. I mean, this is a massive letdown spot for Eastern Michigan. That's my biggest fear here is like you just got a Power 5 coach fired. You went on the road and won at a Power 5 school. That's not like, Kansas, Duke, old school Kansas, right? Vanderbilt, right? That sort of thing. So, I mean, massive letdown spot for Eastern Michigan. But Buffalo is terrible. I'm going to lay the 6 with Eastern Michigan, but it's only a C grade pick. It's only the direction I lean just because that letdown spot. It's just not a comfortable play, in my opinion. But I just can't back Buffalo unless I was getting more points. If I was getting 7.5, I could back Buffalo at that number. But at 6, it's not enough to back Buffalo. But my goodness, I'm just nervous with Eastern Michigan in a letdown spot. But they're the better team. They're at home. We always talk about coaching. Got to be a good coach here. Make sure you get you guys focused back in practice and say, hey, we got some, conference game. Got to go out there and take care of business in the conference. So if you can get them focused here, it's not a letdown spot in that they're only favored by 6 in the conference game. You got to go out and win this game, right? So they have a reason to be motivated as opposed to like the game we just talked about, Penn State, right? No reason to go out there and win by 30. It's not a conference game. They should easily win. But Eastern Michigan should have a lot more focus. So that's the direction I lean, but it's such a letdown spot. I'm not extremely comfortable laying 6. Model says 5.7, so the model thinks this is pretty accurately priced. Total of 60.5. Cousin Jed, what do you think?
Copy paste everything that you just said. We know that I am like president of the Chris Creighton fan club here. But like you said, when you go to a Power 5 school and get the coach fired, I don't care how good of a coach you are, your players are probably still going to have somehow to some level, they're going to let that go to their head. And
you can't not.
Exactly. And so everything that you said, you have to make a pick. I don't have to make a pick. So
I have to make a pick because of the rules I imposed on myself, whatever.
Yes.
Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm taking Eastern Michigan here. I like them. They run the ball very well. Buffalo loves to let people run all over them. So it's going to be a great matchup. They just ran for over 300 on Arizona State, put up 124 against the EKU. So I think Eastern Michigan's going to win this by 10-14 and be in control of the game.
I think, to be fair, Buffalo likes to let everybody do whatever they want because they're a terrible football team. But that's just the way it goes. I love Buffalo. It's just they're just bad. They got me the win last week, so I mean that was nice, but they're just not good at football. 12 Eastern. Speaking of teams who used to not be good at football, not the game of the week. That is still Hawaii, New Mexico.
It's up there. It's up there.
It's up there.
Can we get Bill Rafferty on the call?
Right. Yes. Duke at Kansas. Both teams. I feel like I have to triple check this. Both teams 3-0, which seems.
And no offense, Jake, Why is College Game Day not at this game? You had one opportunity to go to a game at Kansas. Why are you passing it up?
The only thing I could think of is they plan it too far in the future. Nobody saw.
No.
Oh no! Trust me, they can change
don't.
that quickly. I promise.
Yeah,
they were going to
I
be in
don't
College Station.
know. I mean, Tennessee, Florida.
They talk about it. They talk about it before, but Saturday night they make the decision, and they have the option to swing around based off of what they're going to do. So
anyway, I think missed opportunity here, College Game Day. I will help consult with you anytime you need. Just reach out.
Absolutely, and we'll pimp ESPN Plus even more, I guess. Kansas is a 7.5 point favorite. I'm hoping this gets to 7. If it gets to 7, I love Kansas here. 7's a very key number, of course. It's minus 104 odds, but laying 7.5, it's just not that exciting. Kansas, better team. Kansas much improved. Duke's improved. Kansas is much improved. Games in Lawrence, the fan base there, the students have to be really excited. It's obviously not a big fan base. Lawrence isn't a big town, but you got to be excited about having a competent football team. I think this is a good spot to back Kansas. I just really want it to be 7. If it stays between 7 and 10, it's probably a B grade pick for me. So I probably would still add a second unit at 7.5. Model has this at 9.5. So I still think that 10 and 11 are pretty likely outcomes. And I just like backing Kansas here. I think the model still might be missing on how much they've improved. So really, maybe it should be more like 10, 10.5 if the model was a little more aggressive in adjusting to this new and improved Kansas team. But I'm only putting 1 unit on it right now just to hold off and see if it actually gets to 7. If it does, I'm going to unload 2 more because 7 would be an A grade play, but anything between 7 and 9 and 7.5 and 9.5 is a B grade play. So I'm leaving myself some wiggle room to see what happens later on in the week. I don't really think it gets to 7. I think that would be foolish, but if it does, I feel like we ought to take massive advantage of that because 7 would be really nice.
The 7.5 for Duke, getting the 7.5 for Duke has been massively juiced. And most of the
they don't want to push it to 7.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's why they're holding off. They don't want to get it to 7 because I think it'd be foolish to go to 7 in my opinion.
It would be because I'm going to definitely take Kansas if it gets to 7. I'm going to lay the 7 points with Kansas. For me, this is as easy as you look at Kansas's 2 FBS wins against Houston and West Virginia and compare that to Duke's 2 FBS wins, which is against Temple and Northwestern. And so I think that Kansas is just a better team. I know everybody's waiting for my analysis on the total here. So here's what I will tell you. Chris the Bear Folica, also of ESPN, might as well just be a sponsor here. He tweeted a screenshot this week of the top 10 teams in offensive efficiency in college football, and Kansas is number 1, and Duke is like number 9 or 10 or something like that. The offense, both of these offenses have played really well, and so as much as I've been talking up the Duke unders this year, I don't know if this is the place for it. What I would say is that if I did have to play an under in this game, I think I would look at the first half under because I think that Duke can come out with, like I said, Elko, great defensive coach. I think they can come out with a good game plan right at the beginning of the game, maybe to stop him. And then as Kansas adjusts, I think they'll have a harder time kind of keeping that up. So 2 things. I think he can come out with a good game plan there at the beginning defensively. And I think that Kansas, a couple of big wins in a row, maybe a little bit of a hangover there to begin the game. So if you wanted to look for a total play, I think first half under is the way that I would lean.
I think I saw a stat that was like Kansas QBR so far this season is like the best in like QBR's history or some ridiculous thing like that. I was like, what? Obviously it's like a small sample, so it's not like to be completely trusted, but it's one of those where it's obviously not that good, but it does just illustrate how good this Kansas offense has gotten and how they're probably not going to be number 1 in FBS this year, but they're going to be massively improved and at least like respectable on offense,
right?
Which is a lot of fun. Anytime these schools like the Kansases of the world start getting to be even mediocre, it's a lot of fun to pull for them. Yeah. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm shooting myself in the foot. I believe we either talked about this before we recorded that Pac-12 or the Big 12 season thing when I was like, I'm talking myself out of Kansas over 2.5 for the best bet.
I think you said it on show. I think you said like that was your second favorite play of the episode when you went with West Virginia. I think you said your second favorite was Kansas.
Yep. So I could have already had that one in the bag. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the home field advantage here gets bigger because like it's exciting to be a Kansas fan right now, and like everybody I know Lawrence isn't that big, but everybody in some surrounding town is going to want to be there for this. Everybody's going to be involved. So I think the home field advantage plays a little bigger here, especially after the last 2 wins being on the road, like being able to like go and show support for the guys after those 2 big wins that nobody expected. Is just be a lot of fun. Jalen Daniels is playing out of his mind, as you alluded to, with all the QBR stuff. Like he is running the ball, throwing the ball, doing everything. I don't think Duke is quite there on the same level yet. I think this is going to be not a super easy win because Duke's defense is improved and Elko's a good coach, but I think they pull away in the second half. There's a mistake Duke makes, and this goes 10-14 and kind of stays right around there.
Noon Eastern, Maryland at Michigan. I mean, the question here is, can Maryland make this competitive? Michigan should win this game. This would be when you see a 16.5 point favorite, I feel like you shouldn't be too surprised if an upset happens. That happens on occasion, but I feel like I'd be really surprised if Maryland pulled this off. I just don't know how they compete on any side of the ball here. Maryland's offense is decent, but Michigan's defense is really good. Michigan's offense might have some weaknesses, but like Maryland's defense isn't going to be the one to stop them. It just feels like a bad matchup for Maryland. I see 16.5. And like I said, I think, maybe an upset could happen, but I'm like, I don't see it. Model says 17.5. I've got a B grade play on Michigan. I like that I'm on the right side of 17. I just think this is a type of game matchup wise where Michigan winning by 35 or 38 would not surprise me in this one. So I'm on Michigan here. I think it's a good number now that it's off of 17. I'd still play it at 17 as well. I'd still probably play it higher just with a little bit less confidence, just knowing that obviously a score like 17 is very possible. But I think the Wolverines can really take care of business here. Bad matchup for Maryland, in my opinion. Total of 64. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
Okay, so I just put this play in. I am also going to be on Michigan laying the 16.5. Who is backing Maryland in this game? And I say that half facetiously, but also seriously, who is going to back Maryland in this game? If you look at their schedule last year, playing teams that are, I would say, clearly more talented than them, they lost to Iowa by 51-14, lost to Ohio State 66-17, lost to Penn State 31-14, would have covered a 16.5 there. Michigan State lost 40-21. Michigan,
they wouldn't have on 31-14. That's a 17-point loss.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I said,
they wouldn't have given cover. Even the close one, yeah.
Even the close one. And then Michigan, they lost 59-18 last year. It is just seems to be a recurring theme with this team that when they are outmatched athletically, they just cannot keep up. And so,
tell me this game isn't 59-18. Again, we'd all just be like, yep.
Yeah, that sounds right. Especially playing at home. I think that you could get I'm going to go with Tua's brother to turn the ball over at least a couple of times playing in the big house. And so, come on, I think Michigan's going to have plenty of opportunities. We know how Michigan can just play stifling defense and then just take the air out of the ball on offense and just not give you any chance to come back. So I'm going to be on Michigan as well, just because everything I've seen with Maryland the past couple of years makes me think there's no way they can cover this number.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michigan has Iowa next week, which isn't really a look ahead spot. And it'd be one I'd be more concerned about too if we were laying 35 or something like that. But 16.5 is not really a big number.
Yeah,
it's not like it's Ohio State next week, Penn State on the road next week. Shouldn't really matter. Just throwing that out there. Jake, what do you got? Yeah,
I'm taking it over here. I think Michigan's defense is very good. So what I'm about to say, I'm on the opinion that they are very good. We just don't know. They've played high school teams at this level. Like they've just played their local area high school and they've moved up a division, and now they're going to play. The three combined games they played this last week, the combined spread was like 140 or something when you add up all three numbers. It was just insane. Yeah, it's outrageous. It's not a good thing. It's not an NCAA tournament kind of thing because their seed would be really dropped based on the conference. But I think they're going to win this, and I think they're going to win it handily. But I think they're going to be a little slow out of the gate defensively. I mean, Tua's brother is hitting 73% of his passes, and he's playing very well right now. I think Maryland might hang with them for the first quarter and a half, and maybe get a score or two in there, and then Michigan's going to run away with it. And I think the over is going to cash based on if we get the score similar to what we got last year, which is what, 51-18, 59-18?
59-18.
Money in the bank.
Yeah.
So I think we're something similar. Maryland gets me one or two scores, and I think we'll be good.
Yep. A lot of fun games here at this noon Eastern time slot. TCU and SMU battle for the Iron Skillet. Sellout crowd expected in Dallas for a rivalry that has at times been kind of one-sided, but if one side hates the other side more, it's that SMU hates TCU more, so it should be a rocking crowd there. Obviously kind of a little brother, medium brother. I don't feel like I can call TCU big brother. Maybe for the DFW area they are. I'm not. I feel like big brother in the DFW area is still OU or Texas A&M, even though none of those schools are there. Right. But it should be a fantastic atmosphere. Total of 70.5 for this one. We're expecting lots of points. I'm going to grab SMU plus 1.5 even money with the B grade pick. You can also look money line. I think at home SMU is probably the side to look at here. They played well last week, hung in there. Just couldn't get the job done, but I feel like it's a similar type setup as the game last week with regards to the level of talent that's happening. It's just now this game's at home. So they got a chance to pull it out. I'm just not convinced on TCU yet. Model says both these teams are about the same. TCU 34th, SMU 40th. Again, two solid teams. If things go right, maybe they sneak into the top 30, top 25. But again, some questions on both teams. Give me the home team with a 1.5 and the even money, or if you're just taking the money line, maybe something like plus 105, plus 110 or something on it. And what should be a shootout, a fun game. Plus 1.5 feels nice because, again, this is one of those where somebody should be going for 2 at the end of this game and just trying to finish it off. And so someone's going to win by 1. I'm calling 36-35 or 35-34. That's my projection. I'm calling my shot. And I don't care who wins in that case because I've got the plus 1.5. Because, Jared, what do you got?
I don't have anything to say about the X's and O's of this game. I am all here for the pettiness that will be SMU fans to Sonny Dykes. And so I want this to be a good game. I want to get the tempers flaring and I want to see the fans chanting probably bad words at the SMU coach. So
these are
excuse me, the TCU coach.
Christian universities here. They would never engage in such tomfoolery.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. We'll sell that here. We'll sell that here.
Jake, what do you got anything else to say, or are you?
I'm good.
I'm the exact same as Joe here. I loved it last year when Chris Beard came to Texas Tech from Texas. I want the same kind of thing. I want them meeting the bus, giving them all sorts of crap as soon as he gets off the bus. I want that because it just makes for fun and it makes games good because everybody's got a little bit of extra motivation. I'm not going to play. I can't recommend a play here, but I just want to watch this game because I think it'll be a blast.
Disclaimer: we encourage fun taunts and a nice Christian language, and we do not condone physical violence. So that's our disclaimer for that. But otherwise, we want all of the fun shenanigans. Let them loose, SMU fans.
Yep.
12 Eastern kick, Missouri at Auburn. Battle the Tigers here in what feels like a disappointing game here. Missouri's ranked 69th, Auburn ranked 47th. I'm not sure either one of these teams can really get out of their own way here. I mean, Auburn's a better team. They're at home. I'll lay the 7 with them, but this just feels like a game that it's a frustrating game because I'm not even sure we're going to learn that much about either team in this one. If it's a blowout, we know something, but do we know what it says about either team, right? If it's a tight game, what does that tell us? Like, I feel like we just need a lot more data on both of these teams. I'm just not sold on either one of them. I'll lay the 7 with Auburn because they're at home and they're the better team. And I think that Auburn probably just has more talent, and I don't trust Missouri, so I'll take the team with more talent. But it's just a lean. It's not my favorite play. Total of 51.5. Model says 8.3, so Model says it's priced fairly well, but at least at 7. You got the push protection there, and the Model thinks it's more likely that Auburn wins by more than 7 than less. But not my favorite game to pick. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I for all the reasons you just said, I'm not making a pick on this game, but if I had to, I would definitely be going the opposite way and taking the points with Missouri. We all know we got a very awkward lame duck situation there at Auburn. I think we can already say that with complete confidence, and it's only going to take one or two things for Auburn to potentially completely implode and the fans to all fill out of the stadium, and it's just going to be dead. No home field advantage. If nothing, it's just going to be awkward silence at a home game for Auburn. Auburn had a lot of things that didn't look great in that game against Penn State, but I still just don't know about the quarterback play. I mean, I mentioned it coming into the season that they had Calzada whatever his name was, quarterback for A&M, is there now, was in a competition for the starting job. And I said, guys, if this is a competition, this is not a good sign for Auburn's quarterback play because he was not very good. And sure enough, they're already on the backup quarterback. Yeah. So I just have no faith in Auburn's quarterback play. Awkward situation with the coach, just so many things that would say, just if I had to make a play, take the touchdown, and just, hopefully that gets you something.
If you want some giggles here, Missouri plays Georgia next week, so it's a big look ahead spot for them in this one.
They better get the win this week.
Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm very confused by this game. I don't know who is worse. I guess is the right word. We're not better is not definitely not the right term. I mean, TJ Finley is next. I don't know. That's so bad, and I feel so bad for Tank Bigsby. Like, I mean, my man is very talented, and he is just stuck on this very terrible coaching situation. Auburn team as a whole. This is where the transfer portal. I was very surprised he stayed. But I'm thinking he's gone here soon, especially if the coach gets fired. Do we think we get a Herm Edwards situation where they're basically firing him on the field if they lose?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I have no idea. I don't think so. I don't think this is an embarrassing loss, but
I mean, they tried to fire him last year.
Well, it's true. If they lose by like 30, yeah. If they get blown out, then I think that's very possible. Yeah.
Well, I'm not making a play because I don't know what's going on with this team, either team. Like so I don't even want to watch this one. It's so bad.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, there's a lot of other good games at this time slot to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I'll have like 5 screens up, and this one won't even make the top 5. I don't exactly remember how I said it earlier, but I just feel like if I didn't say these words, it feels like it's the who cannot shoot themselves in the foot, who can get out of their own way type thing, because both of these teams should be better than they are, but they both have just can't figure it out. And I'm like you, Jake. It's not even an exciting game to watch. And I feel like that's sad because it feels like a game that could be fun to watch, but it's just not.
You just want to copy and paste everything we just said about this game for our next game?
Yep. The end. We can move on. No, this one, look, 2 p.m. Eastern, UCLA, Colorado. So they play football poorly. That's really my analysis. I mean, they are so bad. I'm going to take the 24 with Colorado. It's -104 odds. Here's the reason I'm going to take 21 with Colorado. I'm not sure UCLA could stop a high school offense at this point. Is Colorado better than a high school offense? We're about to find out. I mean, I have no idea in this game. We talked about this one briefly coming on. I feel like if you have confidence, I'm not saying if you make a play, you make a play whatever you want, obviously, but if you have confidence in anything happening in this game, kudos to you, because I have
put it in the comments for everybody else because we don't know anything.
If this game is low scoring because Colorado can't score, or if this is high scoring because UCLA can't stop anybody, I'd be like, sure. I mean, I don't know. The UCLA defense has been atrocious to some really bad teams, but my goodness, Colorado, they're ranked 115th, and I look at that, I'm like, that actually seems a little high. I'm not even sure it's that. I mean,
it's funny when I compared them to Hawaii last week.
Yeah, it's like there is a floor for a Power 5 school, you would think, but I mean, we've seen in the last couple of years, Kansas, obviously this year much better, but Kansas and Vanderbilt last year really tried to hit that floor for like eking down into the bottom 10, and I feel like for a Power 5 school, that's really hard, and that's where Colorado's heading, for that bottom 10, which is really difficult for a Power 5 school. You have so many more built-in advantages just from recruiting. I'm going to grab the 21. I just don't think UCLA can stop anybody. I have seen glimmers of hope from Colorado's offense to give them some offense. And if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen at home against UCLA at altitude. That might benefit Colorado's offense a little bit more. They will absolutely not win this game. If they do, that would just be hilarious. So I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't think they win this game. But 21 seems like a lot of points I just do not trust UCLA's defense whatsoever, especially, again, playing at altitude on the road here. Total's 57. Cousin Jared, You already said you don't know, so I feel like you don't even have anything to say at this point.
Well, at least in the Missouri Auburn game, there was like some situational things that could make me lean one way or the other. There's just nothing good about this game. The only thing I would say is that Carl Durrell, the head coach at Colorado, got it was like a quasi vote of confidence. It wasn't really a vote of confidence. It's just like the Colorado athletic director just released a letter, and he's like, "Hey fans, I know that you're mad. I'm mad too."
Cool.
That was basically the letter that he released. So yeah, I've got nothing.
Yeah, we can have a whole episode on that because that's just like what, why, what was the purpose?
It was almost throwing him under the bus.
It was like subtweeting. It was like very very passive aggressive. Like I feel like as an athletic director, you shouldn't be that petty, but whatever. Jake, what do you got for us?
Like, I hate Colorado. I'm not confident in UCLA. I'm taking UCLA because I think Colorado is just pitiful in every aspect of the game, and I think UCLA's offense is good enough to take advantage of some of the dumb things that Colorado will do. Because I'm not sure they can throw the ball farther than 5 yards at a time. So if it gets to 3rd and 7, I think it's going to be UCLA's ball every time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can UCLA force a 3rd and 7 is the question.
That is.
I'm not sure they can. But you are absolutely right.
I don't know that Colorado knows how to run the right way on the field. I think they just followed him.
I do think UCLA
that is my opinion of Colorado.
If you look at the implied team totals off of this, it's 37 to 14 or something like that in that ballpark. So if you're looking at a number in the mid 30s like that for UCLA, I mean, they should be able to score a lot of points against Colorado's defense, whatever that's worth. I think the big question is just how many points does Colorado score? 3:30 Eastern, Toledo at San Diego State. This line's at 3 now. Model says 3. Sunday, if you had the early model projections, this line was 1. I can't remember exactly how long it hung around. Toledo -1. I think it's a fantastic play. I would love to get that number. They are traveling across the country, but again, you're going the right direction. Going west is easier than going east and playing earlier in the day. And I faded San Diego State last week. They are terrible. I think Toledo is decent. Obviously, Toledo gave up. I mean, Ohio State's still scoring, I think. But Ohio State, San Diego State is no Ohio State, right? They're not even in the same. Like they're not even playing the same sport.
Maybe the exact opposite is. Yeah.
Maybe the exact opposite. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm laying the 3 with Toledo. It's only a C grade play for me because I just want to see where this number goes. If it gets any higher, it's harder to lay it on the road, especially with a total so low with the tight ball game. But I'm really hoping either the odds get better and I can get like a -105 or I get -2.5. So I like Toledo in this one. I don't want to go too heavy on it now, but I am just kind of putting it out there. Check Twitter in the sheet. I may add more to this, just depending on where the movement goes. If you can grab 2.5, I think jump all over 2.5. It's just -3, -115. Isn't that exciting? So I'm just going to kind of more or less just give myself some options later in the week based off of where this number goes. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
Man, even last year when San Diego State was really good, the one thing you count on was their defense playing really, really well. And I had questions about their offense all year, but you could definitely count on that defense every single week. I'm looking at this total, and there's like no way you could get me to make a play on this game because I don't even have confidence in San Diego State's defense anymore. If Toledo goes in there and scores, 38 points on them or something, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
And so more from a betting perspective, I wish I just felt like I knew that San Diego State's defense was going to be solid like we did last year. Regardless of what their offense did every week, you felt like you could count on that. Now you just got nothing you can count on, and that's just not great because that's one less, in my opinion, that's one less investable opportunity for us each week.
Yeah. Toledo scored 21 at Ohio State. And there were 21 points that were mostly real. None of those were garbage. I mean, all 21 of those points were when the game was like close-ish, like early third quarter. It wasn't at the very end because Ohio State just kept scoring because they're a bunch of mean people up there, apparently.
I don't know what Toledo did to make them mad, but it was obviously something.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was mean, guys. Come on. But Toledo scores 21 on Ohio State in Ohio State. How many are they going to score at San Diego State?
Yeah.
I feel like the answer's a lot more than 21. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm riding Toledo here after Ohio State just abused them. I think there's a little bit of frustration they're going to take out here. But San Diego State's just bad. They're real bad.
Yeah.
And they're coming off a very physical game with Utah because Utah just mauls people is what they do. So I don't think the defense is going to be quite up to go. And Finn, who's a very big threat with his legs, more so than his arms, will be just too much for the San Diego State defense. And I think Toledo wins this handily.
All righty. 3:30 Eastern, Texas at Texas Tech. Texas out to a 6.5-point favorite. This number was 4.5 earlier in the week. It's been bet up a little bit here. Model still says 9.5. And this is with mostly data with, our backup quarterback in here for Texas, Hudson Cards. So I'm going to lay it with Texas. 6.5's a little too high for me to love. I'd rather be on the other side of 6 for an A grade play. But at 6.5, I'll lay it with them. Tech, I think, is a team that's going to get better as the season goes along. I expect improvements both on offense and on defense as the season moves along. I think those pieces are very much there. I just don't think they're quite there yet. They had every opportunity for a cover against NC State last week in the early part of that game, in the middle part of that game, and at the end of that game. And Tech just couldn't do it. And I think Texas is a much better team than NC State. Obviously, the location has changed, but Texas is just a much better team. I think they can go in there, win by more than a score. Like I said, it'd be more of an A-grade pick if we were on the other side of 6, or at least at the push protection at 6, but at least that it's under 7, I still like that. It's a B-grade pick for me on the Longhorns. Total is 60. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
Texas, if this season is going to be any different, come out in this game and show me something, because this is historically a spot where I think Texas would have struggled against by Big 12 standards, mediocre team on the road. Texas has always seemed to have issues consistently for like the past 10 years in this type of game. So come out and show me something if this year is going to be different. I think the crowd's going to, anytime Texas goes to Lubbock, the crowd's going to be crazy and into it and everything. It's going to be a really tough environment. So show me something, Texas. I have no opinion on this game. I have no opinion on this game. I agree with you that Texas is a much better team. We talked about it, when right after that game happened. If Texas's defense plays week in and week out like they did against Alabama, they're going to be really good. Come on, just show me something, Texas. I'm inviting you. I am inviting you to sway me. Come sway me, Texas. Like, show me something here, please.
Although, to be fair, I would say the same thing about next week's game, home against West Virginia. If they win this game in Lubbock, the home letdown spot would be one, too, that they've also struggled with, where the week before OU. So it's this week and next week. I think, like you said, if it's going to be different, I think it's this week and next week. If they win both of these games in the fashion they should, then you're starting to think like, okay, maybe we've got something here. But this is in years past, they've lost this game or the next one and really fizzled from there.
And I think you made a perfect point, because we have learned that you cannot determine Texas' season based on how they play against Oklahoma, because that has tended to be the outlier of their season. So you're 100% spot on with that.
Yeah, Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you with Texas here. I think they are a better all-around team than NC State, but I think their defenses are very similarly talented and skilled, and they made life hard on Donovan Smith, and he made a few mistakes, and I think that repeats itself, and that's going to get us our at least one score win. Hudson Card being the QB makes me a little nervous about it, but anytime you have somebody like Bijan Robinson in the backfield, he can make a mediocre quarterback look good, because you've got to stack the box. So I think that combined with their defense is how we get this to the bank here.
It's a shame this game isn't happening in a month with Caleb Ewers back and with Tech. Again, I think the improvements they're going to be able to make over the season. We talked about that quarterback situation. It's going to get better, but right now it's not there yet. Too many mistakes, too many misses, right? But it's a shame it's not later in the season, because it feels like a game that could be where both teams are even at a higher elevation, be a little bit more exciting, a little better content. Still should be a good game either way, though. Lubbock's obviously always a tough place to play. It's one of the stronger home field advantages, and according to the model.
Did Card get to play them last year?
I can't
remember either.
They scored 70. They scored 70 points, so somebody did something good last year.
Yeah. The Texas quarterback situation, I feel like for the last almost decade now, has just been this weird carousel of I can't keep it all straight, because it's constantly this is the guy and then he's not. On repeated loop. 6:30 Eastern, Ball State at Georgia Southern. Model says this should be Georgia Southern minus 9.3, so 9.5 is a pretty dang good number. I'm going to lay the 9.5, just given that 10 is the biggest key number around this area. We win if that happens. Only a C grade pick. I think it's priced pretty well. Model has Georgia Southern 92nd and Ball State 113th, so neither team's very good. Georgia Southern at home is the better team, but it's just a lot of points to really feel confident. At laying 7, I'd be more excited about this, but I don't think it's going to happen. Getting 14, I'd be more excited about Ball State. I don't think that's going to happen. It's a well-priced game. Not one that's really investable, in my opinion, because, Jared, what do you got?
If I had to make a play on this game, it would be on Georgia Southern. They're a week past the win at Nebraska, give them a chance to kind of get their head back on their shoulders and everything. And just from what I've seen with the Georgia Southern offense this year, I think that Ball State will probably have a tough time keeping up and staying within this number.
Would you potentially go team total over on Georgia Southern? Would that at least be something that you'd think about?
Yes.
Okay. Number on that would probably be about 40-ish, 39, something like that.
I haven't seen anything that would make me think they couldn't do that.
Yeah. I kind of agree. That's why I said that. I was like, saying that, I was kind of thinking the same line. I was like, it's going to be pretty high, but like it might be worth a look. Might be something to kind of double click on just because they should score some points in this game. Question is how many they're going to give up. Yeah. Yep. Jake, what do you got?
I'm kind of the opposite. I'm on the island here. I kind of like Ball State here. I think they're sneakily better than what we think. I mean, Paddock is playing well. He's got 3 interceptions on the year, and 2 of them were to UT, and one of those was after his first throw. So
the first throw.
so I mean, he's done well. They've got a pretty good running back. I mean, Ventrese is throwing the ball away. He threw half his interceptions to UAB. If he does that, I think there's a decent chance Ball State's hanging around at the end and maybe hits a field goal when they need a touchdown kind of thing, and it gets us under 10. And that's how they do it.
All right, so your official pick on Ball State.
Yeah.
I think in my question, since you're on that side, Jake, though, do you agree if that's the case, if you agree with our assessment that Georgia Southern should score points? It sounds like you're high on Ball State's offense. It sounds like you would also be leaning with what we said, combine that and play the over 67.5 as well would be something you might approve of.
Yeah, the over is something I'm looking at. It's a little higher than I want it right now, but for me to be comfortable playing it. But I do think there's a lot of points in this game. I think it's a very offensive-driven game.
Okay. 6 p.m. Eastern, Arkansas State and Old Dominion. Model has this one as Old Dominion by 4. I'm going to take Arkansas State plus 5.5. It's in no man's land between 4 and 6. I have no feel for this game. I think Old Dominion's a slightly better team at home. I don't trust either one of these teams, though. Model has Old Dominion 94th and Arkansas State 102nd. Model thinks Arkansas State's a little improved from last year. Are they improved enough to go and get the road win? I'm not really sure, but 3 and 4 are pretty common, so I get the win if it's 3 or 4. Get the loss if it's 6 or 7. So again, I think it's pretty well priced. I lean to just grab the points in a conference game here because I don't think Old Dominion is that much better than Arkansas State. But getting 5.5 isn't exciting. Getting 6, getting 6.5, getting 7 is where I'm really excited about this play. I don't think we see those numbers, but if we do, that's worth the play. Grabbed 2 touchdowns last week with Arkansas State. That was an easy cover. Just not getting enough points in this one to feel excited. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
If this gets to 55, I will be on the over, which I think it has a chance to, just because of the reputation that Old Dominion has had this season playing those low-scoring games against Virginia Tech and Virginia. And so I think this maybe has the potential to go down a little bit.
There were 76 points last week when Arkansas State played Memphis.
Exactly. And so the thing is that I think personally, if you are going to want Arkansas State here, I don't know if 5.5 points is enough. You may be better served to play it on the money line because I don't know if, there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I don't know if 5.5 is going to be enough to cover whatever the final score is. And so Arkansas State could win a shootout. And you get your plus odds there, but this could easily be, Old Dominion wins, 52 to 35 or something like that, just because Arkansas State games get crazy with the points. So that's all I would say. You may look at Arkansas State on the money line may not be bad either.
Not a bad look because you get some solid plus odds. Counter, Memphis won by 12 last week, and 12 minus 7 is 5. There you go.
It's Memphis. It's Memphis. You could tell me anything about Memphis, and I would believe you.
But I feel like that's with Arkansas State too. Like they have like both of those teams just end up with weird numbers in their games. Like the scoring gets weird, like miss extra points and 2-point conversions and just weird things happen. And you're always like, again, like how do you win by 12? Like it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just not common, right? So you never know when you might need a weird number like 5. But I am with you that I don't love 5.5. At least money line, you got plus odds, so it might be more of an exciting play. If it's tight late, like your payout's a lot bigger as opposed to getting 7 or something where again your probability of winning is so much higher. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't make a play on this one. This is a tough game. Like I think Arkansas State has improved over last year, but they're still not great.
Still not good.
Yeah. I mean, Old Dominion should have beat Virginia, but I don't really value Virginia and Virginia Tech as high as a lot of people, so I don't know that those wins were as near as impressive as it sounds when like in a normal year. So I'm just kind of staying away from this one. Just even their third game, it was a tight game. And Old Dominion just seems to like to play these tight games, and I don't want to be around that.
Yeah, and I think it's partially why the model has Old Dominion 94th is they basically tied more or less both of those Virginia games. Virginia Tech, but it's like tying more or less against those teams. Not as impressive as it might have been, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever time frame you want. Virginia Tech's been better for a lot longer, obviously, but whenever Virginia's been good and Val-Tech's been good, not as impressive as those years. So the model's kind of like, cool. Don't really think it's that worth that much for you. 6 p.m. Eastern, another rivalry game, but one that'll probably be less attended. Rice at Houston. For those of you unfamiliar, Rice is located in Houston. Houston's favored by 17.5. Model says 17.4. I'm going to lay this 17.5 with Houston. I'd be much more excited at 17. Rice has improved. Houston's not as good as they were, but this is definitely another one of those big brother, little brother type games. And as opposed to SMU TCU, where SMU is about as good as TCU, they're close to as good as TCU. Rice is nowhere near as good as Houston. So I think Houston wants to win this game by 100. I don't think they can, but I think they want to. So I'm going to lay it with Houston. But I don't love 17.5. I wish it was 16.5 or 17. Wish it was 14 if we're just throwing out numbers. But I'll lay the 17.5 with Houston. Total of 51. Like I said, Rice has improved. That's why it's only a C grade pick. It's not old Rice that would have lost this game by 40. Again, I think that's what Houston wants to try to do. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to do that. I'll lay it with Houston. I think it's a side I lean towards, but it's not a pick I love. Only a C grade pick. Total 51. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Talked a lot about the Houston unders last year, but I cannot get a grasp on this team this year in regards to their totals. And because the final numbers for UTSA and Texas Tech were inflated by the overtimes. But then you get the game against Kansas where I had the under there, and man, that had no chance. I mean, that was over as soon as it started. And so I just wish that I had a better grasp on this Houston team, but I'm just not getting anything from them right now. I agree that they should stomp Rice, but who the heck knows with, Houston having the 2 receivers getting into an altercation on the sidelines during the game. Like it's just got some weird things going on with Houston. So I really would, like for them to get a big win here and then get back on track. Cause like I said, I was high on them to come into the season. Not so much now. Come on, Houston, you still got a chance to make me look good.
Yeah. They've been disappointing for sure. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm actually riding the over here. I'm not sure why it's so low at 51. I know those games were inflated for Houston where they were letting up 30, but they've also scored 30 in most of their games. And Rice is also scoring points. They put up 30 in both games besides USC, and they still had 14 against USC.
And if they hadn't had 15 pick sixes against USC.
I was gonna say well, a couple of pick sixes. I think 2 of them were in their own territory, but one of the pick sixes was like on the 12 going in. So I mean.
So I think this game will have a lot of points here. I could very easily see Houston working through some of their issues and putting up a 40 spot, and beating them down just because they've got to be very frustrated because expectations for were very high for this team and they've fell way short so far. TJ McMahon loves to give the ball away, as USC found out, and I think Houston is not as good as USC in defense, but they've still got similar athletes that could probably take advantage of that because he's got 6 interceptions on the year. So anytime he's played an FBS team so far, he's thrown 3 interceptions. So if I get 3 out of them and 1 gets brought to the house, that'll help out with points. So I think the over is a fairly easy play here.
The final thing I'm gonna say about this game is, I think the question you have to ask yourself about Houston is, are they gonna get it right? And if they are, this is the game it happens. They stomp Rice. They put up, like you said, they put up a 40 spot, and they get things going the right direction. Are they having internal issues and they're going to crumble? And if so, they might accidentally lose this game and we're all shocked at the end of it. Or they might, need overtime to win or need a fourth quarter or whatever to win. I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. I tend to think they're going to figure it out just because I have faith in that coaching staff. But like we talked about, they haven't been impressive and they have some issues, and a self-destruct, that self-destruct button is there. And Rice would love nothing more than going to win this game. I don't think they have the talent to do it. But again, if Houston self-implodes, it wouldn't be the craziest event of the weekend.
Yeah, nope. They kind of remind me right now of one of those like teams you play growing up in whatever sport that don't handle that first smack in the mouth well. They're just kind of like mentally weak. And Houston, I think if Rice comes out there and smacks them in the mouth and scores with them right at the beginning, this is going to be a very dangerous game for them. But if Houston gets out running away, then they might put up 100.
Yeah, high variance game in this one. If Rice hangs in there, I don't think anybody would be really too surprised. But yeah, Houston's got the talent. Like you said, if they get out there and run away, they can just make Rice be chasing their tails, and then Rice has to pass to try to catch up, and that's going to lead to more interceptions, and it's going to snowball on them. So it's high variance game in my opinion. This one, personally, why it's only a secret pick. A lot of things can happen in this one. Yep. 7 p.m. Eastern, Northern Illinois at Kentucky. I don't know, whatever. Like, Kentucky's good, Northern Illinois isn't. I'll lay the 26.5. I'm on the right side of 27 and 28, but like, does Kentucky have any incentive to win this game big? I feel like the answer is no. It's a lot of points, and I don't know. They're a lot better. They're at home, so I'll lay it. But it's just a C-grade pick. It's not my favorite play. Like I said, I at least like that I'm on the right side of 27 and 28, and that's the best thing I can say about this pick. Cousin Jared, total's 53. What do you got for us?
I know everybody, because of the two teams involved in this game, is expecting me to have some sort of like great insight here. But let me tell you, people, I know enough about these two teams. You do not want any part of this game, because let me tell you, I don't know if Kentucky can score enough. Okay, I don't know if Kentucky can or wants to score enough points to cover this number. Northern Illinois' defense is not good. That's kind of not a good matchup. I think that Northern Illinois is going to have a really hard time moving the ball against this Kentucky defense.
Yep. But
Northern Illinois is a team that just finds a way every week, man. And by find a way, like, obviously I don't think they're going to win this game, but could they find a way to cover this? You are 100% correct. They could. Could they find a way to miraculously put up 20 points against this team? Yes, they could, because that's just what Northern Illinois does every single week. I'm telling you, people, I know enough about these two teams. Just stay away. Stay away.
Another reason to stay away, next week Kentucky plays at Ole Miss, so I mean,
even better.
Yeah. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm taking the points here. I like Northern Illinois to cover this one. I just don't think Kentucky's defense is good. It's up there as one of the top ones. It's impressive how good they've played this year. I kind of expected them to take a big step back, and they haven't. But offensively, they are struggling. Isn't the right word. It just doesn't feel good. It feels like a very clunky machine.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And yeah, maybe not to that level, but
not that bad. Not that bad.
Bill Levis threw 2 interceptions to Youngstown State. Like, I mean, Northern Illinois' defense has got to be better than theirs, I would think. Yeah. I see a couple ways where, like, Kentucky doesn't really like to score more than 30 points. So if we get one touchdown, Northern Illinois is probably going to cover. So I don't know. I mean, it's not something I'm super confident in, because Northern Illinois gave that game up to Vandy. They had it won and just gave it up. So I think if Northern Illinois would have won, I would have been more on Kentucky. But I think since they lost, they're a little more motivated. They come out and show something.
Yeah. I think my only counter to that would be Northern Illinois. Like, if Kentucky's offense has struggled, but this is the type of opponent where you can kind of figure out some of those things, because Northern Illinois' defense. But I'm not confident in either. It's a game that's going to happen, and that's really the best I can say about it. 7 p.m. Eastern, another game that's going to happen. Louisiana Tech at South Alabama. I feel like we're like a week away from conference, and at least when these types of teams play, it's a conference game and we have something more exciting to talk about. It's a non-conference game. I don't really have a lot of fun things to say about this. Louisiana Tech isn't very good. South Alabama's decent. You talked about this yesterday because of Jared that South Alabama, probably the class of the Sun Belt West Division. At home, they're 13.5-point favorites. I'm going to take the 13.5 with La Tech model says 12.5. Only a C grade pick. I'd be much more excited at plus 14. We got the cover with La Tech last week against Clemson. The little bit of fear I have here backing La Tech, not getting that extra half point to get me the push protection on 14 is after playing an opponent like Clemson. It's going to feel easier against South Alabama, but you might be a little beat up from playing a team like Clemson running around trying to chase them all night. So it's not my most confident play here, but I'll grab the points. South Alabama's better, but I just don't know if they're better enough to win by a bunch. Just a lean for me on La Tech grabbing those points. Total of 60. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
This is a gross total number, but definitely be leaning towards the over in this situation with Sonny Cumbie's offense and then the South Alabama offense that we saw play really well against UCLA and saw them just go up there and smoke Central Michigan in the first half of that game in week maybe 2 it was. So I think that the over it would be the way that I would be looking here just because I think both of these offenses are pretty good, or at least Louisiana Tech has the potential to have a good offense, and I think South Alabama's offense is good. So that would be the way that I would lean here.
Jake?
Yeah, I'm taking South Alabama here. I think they're very underrated. Like, not that they're going to be a top tier team or anything, but I just don't think they're quite getting the respect they deserve yet. Carter Bradley's having a pretty good year. He's hitting 67% of his passes, got 830 plus yards, 7 touchdowns on the year. They've got a really good running back in Webb, who's averaging 5.8 yards a carry. Like, their offense is loaded, and they're going to take advantage of this Louisiana Tech team, I think, because I mean they've got to be shooting themselves all sorts in the foot after dropping that UCLA game. They had that one, big one for them, and I think a great way to take advantage of it, great way to make yourself feel better is to come in and beat the team that Missouri beat by 30. Like, so you can probably beat the pants off of them because Missouri did. Neither QB that Louisiana Tech throws out there is scary. They're both in the 50% completion wise and just not doing very well. And then if you just look at the stats and don't really dig into it, Crosby's numbers look really good. But besides like the 190 yards he ran against Stephen F. Austin, he's got 30 yards on the year and is averaging 1.5 a carry. Like, I don't see Louisiana Tech keeping this one close.
All right, 7 p.m. Eastern. Southern Miss at Tulane. I'm going to lay the 13 with Tulane. Model says 12.7. Tulane getting that big win last week. It's only a C-grade pick just because the potential letdown spot after such a big win for them. But I think they're a much better team than Southern Miss. Model has Southern Miss outside the top 100 or inside the top 100, which has promising for them. There's been times when they've been way towards the bottom, but a much improved Southern Miss team. But I still think Tulane's a better team. Just a little bit nervous about the letdown spot here. So I'll lay the 13, push protection on that number. And if they win by 14, we've got the win. 48 is the total for this one. That's quite a low number for not Iowa being involved. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Who's the running back for Southern Miss? Can anybody tell me that?
Not a clue.
It is Frank Gore Jr. And yes, we are all very old. We are all very old. Yeah. So again, I've mentioned a couple of times before that, I like to have my analysis based on some statistics somewhere in here. My gut tells me that this total number is a little high. I think both of these teams want to keep the ball on the ground, and I think the clock is going to be running a lot. So 48 is a low number for sure, but I think there's just going to be so much stuff on the ground in this game that the clock's going to be running a lot. So if I had to lean anywhere, I think it'd be the under 48.
All right, Jake.
Yeah, I'm not making a play here. Like, it's too much of a letdown spot. And is there really 14 points between Tulane and Liberty difference? Like, because the Southern Miss Liberty game was close, and I think it went to overtime. I think it was like ended up being a 2-point game because of the overtime rules. But so I don't know that there's 14 points between those two. But I think Tulane's the much better team. But in this spot at home after that big win is scary. And I mean, Southern Miss showed some stuff there hanging around with Miami for that first half. So there's just too much weirdness in this one that I'm staying away from. I'm too nervous on every side of it.
All right. 7:30 Eastern, Charlotte at South Carolina. We already talked about this. Chris Arnold coming back for Charlotte. Huge for them, makes their offense competent. South Carolina has a quarterback as well. They're favored by 22. I'm going to lay the 22. It's just a C grade pick here. Charlotte much better with Reynolds back, but I just think he's going to have a really hard time against a competent South Carolina defense. Obviously, a South Carolina defense that can't hang with Georgia, but obviously Charlotte's no Georgia. I just don't like that it's on the wrong side of 21 or 20. If I could lay 20 with South Carolina, I feel a little bit better. I've been on Charlotte all season, but I just don't think this is enough points for this game. Total 67. Again, I lean towards laying the points. I just wish I was getting minus 21 rather than minus 22. So if that number pops up, I'm a little more excited about it. Might add a unit to it, but at 22, I'll take South Carolina, but it's, again, not my favorite. Model says 24 is what it should be. So the model thinks the most likely outcome gets us a win. Unfortunately, the second most likely outcome of 21 would get us a loss. That's why it's only a C grade pick for me. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
I think this game, in regards to the total, comes down to where do Spencer Rattler's turnovers take place? Do they take place in near their own end zone, or do they take place on the other side of the field?
And that would also affect if Charlotte can cover, because if they happen near their own end zone, then Charlotte's going to get points. And if it happened going in, then Charlotte doesn't. So at least if his turnovers happen deeper into the drive, South Carolina still might cover, right? If they happen in his, at their own 20, Charlotte's got a real good chance to cover this number.
Yeah, I still think I would lean towards the under. Like, this is just a lot of points for a Charlotte team that, yes, Reynolds is back, but it's just a different level of competition than what they've been playing. So I still think I would lean towards the under here. But, you could tell me that Rattler throws for 5 touchdowns. You could tell me he throws for 5 interceptions, and I wouldn't doubt either of them.
Yep, 100% agree. Jake, what do you think?
Man, sitting here listening, I've kind of talked myself out of my Charlotte play. I kind of one of the reasons I leaned Charlotte was how beat up the secondary was for South Carolina, and then coming off Georgia just, like we talk about Utah mauling people. Georgia just absolutely takes your soul when they beat.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Like health wise, and then South Carolina beat Georgia State by 21, and then college football math. Charlotte beats Georgia State by 1, so maybe you're looking at a 20-point victory for South Carolina. Math. I'm trying. So I don't know. I've kind of talked myself out of it. I'll lean Charlotte, but I don't know. I've taken that play off the board because I'm not very happy with it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those where if you can lay 20 with South Carolina, it's probably solid. If you can get 24 with Charlotte, it's probably solid. Being right in the middle is kind of like not really exciting either way. 7:30 Eastern, Wisconsin and Ohio State. What could be a good football game. Someone convinced me. I'm just going to start off with this. Someone convinced me that Wisconsin and Notre Dame aren't the same team.
I cannot convince you of that, because I think that is the exact formula that Wisconsin has to follow if they want to stay in this game.
They're not that far from each other, right? South Bend and I don't know.
That's probably like a 6-hour drive. Ohio State's a 19-point favorite. I'm going to grab the 19 with Wisconsin. It's just a C grade pick. This Ohio State team can beat anybody by a large number. We saw it last week. So fading them unless you're getting a lot of points just isn't something I can do with confidence. I faded them week 1 with a lot of confidence with Notre Dame and got the victory with that one. But that was week 1. That was all offseason. Notre Dame had to prepare for what they wanted to do against Ohio State. That was first game for Ohio State. After what I saw against Toledo, and not that beating Toledo was puts them in the College Football Hall of Fame, but the way that they beat Toledo and just made it look so easy, it feels like they're clicking on all cylinders. So as much as this is like the Notre Dame game, I'm not convinced it is. So I'm going to grab the points, but with a much lower confidence grade play than I had Notre Dame in that week 1 game, just because Ohio State, like I said, can go out there and win this game by 30 and nobody would be surprised. Model says that this should be 17.8, so it's priced pretty well. I think the bottom line is I think this is priced really well. I think it's hard to be super confident that Ohio State can win by 3 touchdowns, knowing that Wisconsin's defense should be able to do better things than Toledo's. And that, like you said, Cousin Jared, that their game plan is similar to what Notre Dame did to try to hang in there. But I don't think you can have a ton of confidence grabbing the points with Wisconsin unless you're getting a number north of 20 as well. So I think it's a pretty well-priced game. I'm going to grab the points with Wisconsin, but I'm just more kind of wanting to see how this plays out. If Wisconsin hangs in there, that tells me they might be decent this year. If they get blown out, it really emphasizes that Washington State loss wasn't just a fluke, that it was actually Wisconsin's not going to be very good this year. So we're going to learn a lot, I think, in this game. Total's 57. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
You could convince me that Wisconsin is going to slow down Ohio State. I'm not sure you can convince me that Wisconsin is going to score many points against Ohio State is the problem, which would, naturally give you the inclination that I would lean to the under here. But just like going under an Ohio State game is just, not super comforting, not anything that, really makes you feel good. So I'm staying away from this one. I hope it's closer than what the line is. I hope it's a good game, but I have a concern that, Wisconsin may end up with like 10 points in this game.
Team total for Wisconsin, 17.5. Why aren't we playing the under?
Because Graham Mertz actually picks one game a year to show up.
Yeah, but is it this one?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He just selects one randomly and has a good game.
Yeah.
I feel like I've mentioned like 16 total unders or overs or whatever this week, 7 or something. I hope someone goes back and listens and like marks one out and sees like, did they all win or lose? Because I don't even remember what they all were at this point. But I feel like I've said a lot of team totals, and I'm just curious how they all play out. Like I said, I would be looking at Wisconsin team total under. I think for them to cover, I'm going to say this. If you like Wisconsin, I almost think you kind of parlay it with the under, because I kind of think those are pretty heavily correlated. I don't, it's almost like the baseball thing with the run line and the unders, and they don't let you parlay those a lot. You have to go to the same game parlay stuff where they throw that extra juice on there and it makes it tougher. But I think this one's pretty correlated. I think you might have a little bit of an edge on the books if you do that, because I don't think Wisconsin can hang in there in a shootout. If it's a shootout, I think it's going to be like last week with Toledo. Yeah. Not that Ohio State scores 122 or whatever they scored, but I think it's that Wisconsin's only hope is to keep this low scoring and make this a 30-14 type ball game or something. And so, like I said, I kind of think Wisconsin, if you like Wisconsin, parlay with the under, maybe makes a little bit of sense here. Or like I said, just go Wisconsin even total under, because I just don't think they're going to have a lot of success scoring. Their biggest hope is going to be, can their defense slow Ohio State down and keep it an interesting ball game, which is what I'm hoping for as a fan of college football, that it's at least a close, interesting ball game. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm watching this one right now. If I get 20 with Wisconsin, I'm taking that. Just because this sounds weird. I really think the coin toss plays a big effect in this game. If Wisconsin can get that ball first and hold on to it, and kill some clock, because they don't really throw the ball, they run it. That will help slow this Ohio State team down. Like teams try to do with Peyton Manning and stuff. When he's not on the field, he can't hurt you. And their defense is good enough that it could keep them in the game. We could see something similar to Notre Dame, but I'm not confident under 20. If it gets to 20, I'll take it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm with you. I like 20 more. If I get to 21, I'm much more excited about that. That would be at least a B grade play for me at 21. But yeah, 19 is kind of like, nah. No. 7:30 Eastern, Vanderbilt at Alabama. My goodness. Like we were always saying, I hope that nobody gets hurt. I mean, Alabama's going to win this one handily. I'm going to lay it with Alabama. I laid it with Alabama last week, and that worked. And I feel like against these weaker schools with Alabama, you just kind of got to lay it and just hope that you get pissed off Saban, who just says, I'm going to try to put up 50 points and a half. Vanderbilt's improved, but they're still not that good. I don't see how Vanderbilt hangs in there. I haven't seen enough out of Vanderbilt this year to make me think that they can even do anything. And if they can't do anything, it just feels like a game that Bama wins, 49-3 or something like that. So I'm going to lay it with Alabama. It's only a C grade pick because there's so many points, but team total for Vanderbilt's probably sitting around 9.5. I'm like, how are they going to score off of Alabama, and how are they going to stop Alabama? I mean, this is going to be an ugly game. I'm surprised the line's not a little bit higher, but the model says 39.5. So I can't be that confident in laying a number in the 40s, given that the model says 39.5. So I'll lay it with Alabama, but it's I think it's a solid play to diversify your portfolio, but it's one that I'm playing at a lower level because I want that diversification, but I don't want to be too invested in Alabama needing to score late to cover this one, even though I think that they can probably destroy Vanderbilt just like they do in most years. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if this situation, you either lay the points to Alabama or you pass, because I don't think there's any way in God's green earth that you can convince yourself that backing Vanderbilt is the right thing to do in this situation. So I would say if you want to have a play on this game, it's got to be laying the points with Alabama.
Yep. Jake?
Yeah, Vandy is thanking the Lord that ULM was the game in between them and Texas, so they didn't get
the wrath. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's their only benefit here, and that if they come out healthy, just like it's Alabama or pass for me too. I'm not playing it just because I don't know. I don't want to endorse murder.
Also, disclaimer: we do not condone physical violence or murder on this podcast show thing that we're doing here. Yep. Alabama does have Arkansas next week, but I don't think this is a look-ahead spot in the sense that Vanderbilt's so bad that Alabama backups can score if they want, and the Alabama backups can stop Vanderbilt if they want. So yeah, I'm with it's Bama or pass. I don't think adding Bama to your portfolio again as a small investment's a bad idea. It's just not one that I think I can endorse heavily on this one. 7:30 Eastern, Florida Atlantic and Purdue. I'm going to grab the points of Florida Atlantic. It's 20. Purdue's. I don't know what to make of Purdue yet. I don't think we're going to learn a lot in this game. They should win this game. Can they win it by 21 is really the question. Model says 18, so the model thinks that 17, 18, 20 are all reasonable possibilities here. Total 61.5. Florida Atlantic's inside the top 100 and Purdue's outside the top 25. And so that's kind of a recipe for you kind of got to take the 20 points out of principle, in my opinion, because these two teams aren't that close, but they aren't that far apart either. Purdue is not a team that I think is good enough to really say we can go attack your weaknesses and destroy you. And Florida Atlantic is not a team that's so bad that they're going to get embarrassed. I mean, Florida Atlantic they're not good, but they're not terrible. And Purdue's, had some question marks, had some holes, had some issues. So I'm just going to say 20 points is too many out of principle and take it, but it's only a lean. I'd like 21 a lot more. It's fairly well priced. I think 20 is the right side, but again, it's not my favorite play unless I can get 21 and a half. Total 61 and a half. Cousin Jared, you got anything for us here?
I was raised to, with the saying, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. And I've got nothing good to say about Purdue after what they did to us with Syracuse last week. So no, I have nothing to say.
I was really wondering where you were going to go with that.
I've got nothing to say about this game.
Completely fair. There's again, like I said, right before conference play here, there are some non-conference games that are just not the most exciting. At least we get the conference play. We have something to talk about, how they're going to handle this, trying to win a division, all that sort of stuff. And some of these are just kind of, Jake, you got anything for us on this one?
Yeah, I'm actually grabbing Purdue. I think they take out some
Jake will save the day for us here.
I mean, their two losses are last-second losses against good teams, and I mean that's got to be driving you nuts. Aiden O'Connell and Charlie Jones should have a field day. I think this game looks a lot like that UCF game that Florida Atlantic just played, and because I just don't see them having the offense to keep up, and any mistake they make, Purdue's going to punish because they don't have the defense to get in Aiden O'Connell's way.
Yeah. My fear with laying it with Purdue is Purdue plays at Minnesota next week. No reason to run it up. A lot of points. But again, I like it a lot more at 21 because I could easily see Purdue winning this game by 20 or 21. So that's why it's only a C grade pick for me taking the points, is that if I could get more points, I feel much better about the back door, about Purdue not running away with it. But I'm on the wrong side of a pretty key number there at 21. So I get it. 8:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Boston College and Florida State. I know we're deep into the show and I haven't had many of them. Here's an A-grade play for me. I'm going to grab the 17.5 with Boston College. Florida State is a little banged up, and by a little, I mean a lot. I'm not even sure how many healthy bodies they're going to have by the end of this game. It feels like people there are dropping like flies. Still a very good football team and a very impressive effort last week to salvage that victory in what was a wild and massively entertaining game. And they do at least have an extra day, of rest, that being a Friday game now playing on Saturday. But this is just a lot of points. And especially given the injuries that Florida State's had, I'm not sure they have any desire to win by a bunch. This is a get the win and get out of town or get back to your dorm room, whatever. Health type game. 17.5 is a lot of points, especially with the low total, like 48.5. I think Florida State wins this game, but I think they're just not interested in winning it by 20 some odd points. I think Boston College can slow it down enough. Florida State's not healthy enough. I think they lose by 10, 14, 17, 13, 11. I mean, there's a lot of ways they can lose this game, and it still not be that entertaining, and we can still cover with 17.5. So it's an A-grade play for me on Boston College. Model says 15, indicating that the most likely outcomes are 13, 14, and 17, and we win with all of those plays. And the model's not even really exactly sure about all the injury stuff, so there's that extra variability, but again, with a low total and no reason for Florida State to try to run it up here, I'm taking all these points with Boston College on Saturday night. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
I don't know how many points Boston College is going to score in this game. They have played 2 FBS opponents. They scored 21 points against Rutgers, which isn't really that bad. They only scored 10 points against Virginia Tech. I just think that this offense is just not very good at all. I think that would probably – you made your points about Florida State. I think those points are well taken. This is a lot of points in a game with a total of 48.5, where you could see Florida State pulling some people early. Boston College trying to get some, style points there at the end or something like that.
Just get some. We scored points in a college football game in Florida State type. I mean,
yeah. I got points in a conference game. Try to build up your confidence a little bit. Man, I don't trust Boston College as far as I could throw them, but I think I would lean towards taking the points in the game with this type of total.
Yep. Jake?
Yeah, this is another one. If Florida State was fully healthy, I'd be riding now because I think the defense is good. I marked this just in case they were going to be fully healthy, but it doesn't look that way. So I'm gonna take this one off because Florida State's defense is very good, and both their quarterbacks looked good. But I think you're right. I think they might get up that 21-28 and just pull everybody like we got to stop the bleeding somewhere. And Boston College, I thought Jerkovich was going to have a decent year coming in. Man, he doesn't look like the same guy he did last year. And then they ran for all of 29 yards against Rutgers and 4 yards against Virginia Tech. So he's carrying the whole weight of their offense, and he's not carrying it very far. So I'm staying away from this game just because I don't trust either team to really have it in them.
Yeah. Florida State next week gets Wake Forest at home. So another reason just not to try to push the tempo, no reason to try to have extra plays. I'm not saying what they will or won't do. I'm just saying there's no incentive to push anything in this game. They should be up double digits in the third quarter. And then it's just try to run it down their throats and milk the clock for all it's worth and get out of town healthy with the W. So I'm with you, Jake, though. A fully healthy Florida State team with a bye next week is a totally different story in this situation. It's like, let's go out there and kick some tail, and I think they can. It's just that's not the situation that we have here for this one. Saturday night, 9:30 Eastern. USC is a 6-point favorite at Oregon State. So 2 weeks ago, I took USC against Stanford, and I was like, I love USC in this spot, and they're going to win big, and then I'm never going to take them again because people are going to overreact. And they won, and people didn't overreact. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take USC again. I love them here against Fresno State. They're a lot better. But then I'm never going to pick them again because people are going to overreact. And they clocked Fresno State. Their defense, we talked about their defense just really like hunting for the ball and that giving up some big plays. And they gave up a few big plays and a few yards. But, that defense looked a lot better against Fresno State. Offense still just rolling along. And I was like, yep, never going to take them again. People are going to overreact. And everyone's going to be like, oh, USC's the best team ever or whatever. And they're good, but they're not that good. Why is this under 7? I don't understand this at all. B-grade pick for me on USC at -6 with -107 odds. Model says 6.7 is 7's most likely outcome, and then we have that push protection on 6. It's maybe one, the more I think about it, it turns into an A-grade play as we get closer to kickoff on this one. It's just, I for sure at least want 2 units on this at USC -6. I can't believe I'm backing them again. I feel like they're going to go beat Oregon State pretty handily, and then maybe I'll never pick them again. I don't know. Maybe people won't realize that this USC team has a lot of talent. We talked about how good their offense is. Talked about it last week with Fresno State. It's kind of the same recipe. Oregon State just gets stopped once or twice, and that feels like it's ball game with this USC offense. I know the game is in Corvallis. It's going to be a rocking crowd at night. It can be a tough place to play. Should be a really fun atmosphere, but I just think I think Oregon State's solid. The model's got them 39th. But Model has USC 12th. I think they're a pretty good team. I don't think they're, top 3. I don't think they're top 5, but I mean, they're a pretty good football team. They're going to continue to get better as this year goes on. We talked about maybe at the end of the season having depth issues if there are injuries, but as they start clicking this middle of the season, they're a real scary team. I'm shocked this number isn't 7 or really 7.5. That's all right. Hang it at 7.5 and dare you to lay more than a touchdown with USC. I'm laying the 6, and like I said, it's a B+ type pick. I haven't quite pulled the trigger on that third unit, but the more I look at it, it feels like a game that USC just needs a stop or two, and all the stops they got last week. I'm not convinced Oregon State's offense is that much better than Fresno State's. I'm laying with USC. Total of 70.5. Should be a fun one here Saturday night. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
I would lean towards taking the under just out of principle there. If Oregon
and
Oregon
last
State,
week's game went way under. We talked about all the points that we thought were going to happen in that one. Way under.
Last week's game went way under, and if you look at Rice,
Hayner died in that game.
That is true. May he rest in peace. What I would say is, I think the Rice game, if they hadn't thrown the 3 pick sixes, I think that you would have seen obviously a much lower total there as well. And I think that Oregon State, not to say that I run a similar offense to Rice, but they like to keep they're a run first team, very similar to what Rice is. And so I think you can see the clock running a little bit. I think that would make me lean more towards the under, but with USC, you never feel comfortable with that. I want to talk about how mad I am at the Pac-12 network, that it still takes an act of Congress for anybody to actually get a television subscription where you can actually watch the Pac-12 network, because this is going to be a wonderful game, I think, and nobody's going to be able to watch it. And that's just very, very sad. So Pac-12, this next TV contract, let's get all this stuff taken care of. And so we can find this on our TVs and enjoy these great late night games that you've got.
Yep. And just real quick before you talk about that, Jake, obviously was the Hayner injury last week, but Fresno State only scored 10 points in the first half. So I want to make sure I indicate it's not just USC's defense improved. It wasn't just the Hayner injury. I mean, they looked pretty good in that first half too, but obviously that prevented any potential comeback effort really by Fresno State, of course, once he didn't play the most of the second half. Jake, what do you got for us on this game?
Yeah, I'm with Jared here, hating the Pac-12 network. But
yeah, I mean, I third that. Yeah.
What is this? The last year, the next last year that we have to worry about USC being on it.
That's true.
So I don't know that the Pac-12 network's going to carry on too much anymore after that.
That's true.
No, it won't. It's going to go away in the new TV deal. I promise.
Yeah. Either way, I'm all over USC here. I'm very confused why this is under a touchdown. That trio that Lincoln Riley has in Williams, Addison, and Dye is just unstoppable, really. I don't know how many teams out there are going to be able to slow them down, and it allows their defense to take risk and be real aggressive, because it's it doesn't matter. You still have to score twice every time we score, because it's not going to be. It's going to be crazy. I think USC wins this by a touchdown or two. I don't think Oregon State's going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I'm shocked that I still think that there's value back in USC. I felt like there was going to be a runaway hype train with all the talent that they brought in. I just thought there's no way it's going to be super inflated, being out, we're going to have to fade USC and just hope to be 500 against them, that sort of thing. But I mean, I feel like this number is way too reasonable. Like you said, I'm surprised it's not 7 or 7.5. I don't know why it's 6.
It kind of confused me. And I mean, with him being a name too, that the public's going to follow,
it's shocking.
Well, I'll take it as I can get it, because I like to be able to back this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Late night Saturday, 10:15 Eastern, Wyoming at BYU. BYU is a 21.5 point favorite. That hook might matter. I mean, this game really easily could land at 21. That's why I'm taking 21.5 with Wyoming. It's just a secret pick, though. This Wyoming team isn't very good. I don't have a lot of faith in them. But I don't know what BYU team is going to show up. They obviously looked great the first week. They looked great against Baylor. Baylor wore them down a little bit. Part of that game against Oregon was Oregon. I think, like we talked about already, massive credit to Oregon. I think they're much better than I realized. But BYU now after playing that Oregon game, coming off the Baylor game, I just don't know how much depth they have, how physical they're going to be able to, assert their will, exactly how this game's going to play out. Another situation where they have no incentive to run it up. BYU's home field advantage partially comes from the altitude. Wyoming's going to be used to that, so it's not going to affect them whatsoever. So it just feels like a lot of points in a game that BYU just feels like if they could play their starters for 3 quarters and get out of Dodge with the victory and move on to try to stay healthy for what we've talked about all season, just a grueling schedule for them. That feels like the way it's going to play out. I just don't have enough faith in Wyoming to give this more than a C grade because Wyoming is fairly terrible. And if BYU wanted to, I think BYU could win this by much more than this. I'm just not sure that they really have a need to, and or I'm not sure they're healthy enough to. And or again, I think that home field advantage that they have is a little bit nullified when you're playing another team coming from altitude. So I'm going to get the 21.5, especially because that hook at minus 105 odds. I think it's a good play. It's just not what I want to be too invested in. So it's a C grade pick for me on Wyoming. Total of 50. Cousin Jared, what do you got for us?
We know I love the Mountain West, but what I would tell you people is don't overreact to Wyoming's victory over Air Force just because the way that Air Force runs its offense, it's a little bit different, but similar to the other service academies. If you get ahead early, it can be difficult for them to come back. And, if you just come up with a game plan to specifically stop that offense, you can win a game like that, even, when you may have less talent and all those other things. I would say don't read too much into that. The other thing that I would say about Wyoming here is that they went on the road, Illinois, first game of the season, and they lost 38-6. And we didn't.
And they looked terrible.
And they looked like garbage. And we weren't sure they were going to score a touchdown all season. And so I would say, just don't get carried away with that Wyoming victory over Air Force last week. Look at the whole picture. I think personally, if I had to look at the whole picture, I would be laying the points with BYU here. I think that they're just on a completely different level from Wyoming. And if Illinois could do that to them, because BYU is going to put up more points than Illinois did. Illinois scored 38. And so I think personally I would lay the points if I have to. We've talked about the BYU schedule ad nauseum. Definitely, at some point they're going to say, hey, it's not worth it. We need to, put some of the second stringers in. But it's not exactly a look-ahead spot to Utah State at this point anymore.
But they play Utah State on Thursday.
Did not realize that. That's good.
So it's not a look ahead spot with regards to the team, but it is because when you play that game. Like I said, this is a get out of Dodge and don't have too many plays type game because they know they're playing on Thursday. Again, they should be able to win that game on Thursday. Utah State's not very good, but just a rough schedule for BYU.
It's tough. I think I would lay the points just because of what I saw with Wyoming and Illinois, and I think BYU is an order of magnitude better than Illinois. But again, don't feel strong enough to say that's an official play.
Jake?
I am laying the points. I think BYU is angry about that Oregon game. That was their first big time national television game of the year, and they kind of looked really rough towards the second half of that.
Hey, now hold on. Baylor BYU, I think, broke records for ESPN late night television. It was the most watched ESPN 9:30 Eastern start time in the last 4 years or something. So I'm saying this was middle of the day. You're right. Absolutely. National television. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I just had to make the joke.
No, props to them if they're being able to carry late night stuff, getting people on the East Coast to stay up that late. But man, I just think they're angry about it and they're going to come out mad. I don't think Wyoming has the horses here to get in their way.
I think this is a spot to me where if I see, and I don't know if I'll see it, I might just look at the box score and see, but if it seems like the BYU starters are playing deep into this game because they're angry and they're winning big, it feels like a spot to fade them next week against Utah State on the short week, since Utah State, I don't believe, is playing this week. Nope, they are playing this week. Never mind. So they'll have the same problem, and Utah State's terrible. So never mind. Ignore all that. Moving on to the kill the clock offense here. This is where we'll go back and recap some things that we want to add some units to, and then let Jake make plays on all the games that we covered earlier in the week. I've got one here. Oklahoma is now down. We're going to talk about Oklahoma in every episode this week. They were at minus 13. They're down to minus 12. It was a B grade play for me at 13, having that push on a quasi key number, not extremely one, down to 12, pushing at that number, which isn't extremely likely, but winning at 13, which is more likely than 12. I'm going to add that third unit to it to up that to an A grade play, backing the Sooners. We talked about this. I think it's a horrible matchup for Kansas State, and the number getting more favorable is just confusing. I tweeted about this today. Just your weekly reminder that closing line value in football spreads means absolutely nothing. The Sunday night spreads have been more accurate than the closing line spread, so don't be afraid of line movements. If they're moving a different direction, it's really 50-50. And based off the information that I presented today, it actually says that you're more likely wanting to fade the line movement because that's actually would give you a profitable times so far this college football season. That's just the way it's been, and it's not just this year. That's the way it's been for the last several years now. Used to not be the case, but lines have gotten a lot better on open because they've hired a lot of smart people to make much better lines than they used to. So lines open up and are pretty good. Maybe not right off the bat, but usually within a couple of hours, those lines settle into a really good number, and then they don't really get that much better. So this number's going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I still think we should back Oklahoma. I'm going to add another unit, -12. Cousin Jared, do you have any plays to add to your previous selections?
Yeah, I got two more plays here, and then I got a question for Jake. So first of all, I'm going with the UMass Temple over 43.5. We talk about 55 being a key number all the time. 44 is the second most key number in college football. Getting an over 43.5 against the UMass defense, I think
Temple might score 44 by themselves.
They could score 44 by themselves, but I'm banking on this game being like 34-14. That feels like a plausible outcome for me.
I was going to say 34, or 34-10. You still get the win.
Yeah, so I'm going to go UMass Temple over 43.5. I'm also going to go with Tulsa and Ole Miss under 65.5. I've been impressed with what I've seen from the Ole Miss defense this season, and we talked about it earlier. Ole Miss got Kentucky coming to town next week, or vice versa, and so potential time to get some of the starters out there early.
I think Kiffin did say he called the dogs off in that Georgia Tech game, so that could have been worse.
Yeah, so let's call the dogs off again, Lane. I'm all about that.
Yeah, because that game was like a 40-point game early in the third quarter. Yeah, it could have been worse.
Yeah, so Tulsa Ole Miss under 65.5. So, Jake, this is what I want to ask you. So I said on the last episode that I would consider playing the over if Notre Dame and North Carolina total got to 55. It got to 55. It's currently sitting at 55. So, Jake, what is your opinion on an over or under in the Notre Dame-North Carolina game at 55?
See, I like when you said that, I kind of agreed with it, but I kind of want it under 55. Like I don't know that I would play it right now just because
you want to go over a number that's less than 55. Okay, just to make sure we're clear.
Because I don't try to play for pushes, so I think there's a good chance it gets to 55. But
you think hold off for 54.5.
Yeah, I don't trust Notre Dame to score enough here, and I think North Carolina is good enough to put some points up, but they can't stop anybody. But I mean, if you've watched Pine play, they really call all the routes off at like 7 yards. Like that's as far as we're going downfield. Yeah. And North Carolina's defense is bad.
Hey, 7 yards down the field, he should be wide open against North Carolina. They're probably only within 20 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's my opinion on it. I'm waiting for the 54.5, but I may talk myself into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you didn't convince me one way or another there. So everybody, I'm keeping that in my back pocket. I'm going to be analyzing this more as the week goes on. This might be one that I pull the trigger on later in the week.
All right, Jake. Here is your time to shine. Can you kill the entire fourth quarter right here?
I'm gonna try. So I'm definitely jumping on Syracuse. Virginia's bad. I don't know what happened to them. They're bad. Syracuse is decent.
That number jumped up to like 11, and then now it's back to 9. And I'm like, why? Why? Yeah. I don't.
When I saw
at 11, I was like, okay, we're going the right direction. At 9, I'm like, what's happening, people?
Yeah. When I saw it got back under 10, I was like, ooh, I'm so excited. Yeah. So I jumped on that. I'm going to grab Boise State because New Mexico UTEP is bad. I mean, New Mexico forced 7 turnovers against them, and I mean, Boise's not great, but their defense is better than that. So I could imagine this gets out of hand quick because UTEP can't hold on to the ball. Taking Temple, really want to do the over 2. Haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but I'm going to take Temple -9.5. I think Kurt Warner's kid is it EJ Warner. I think he's going to be good and carry this team pretty far. I hate Georgia Tech. I think they're probably they're a Colorado level, so I'm going to take UCF just because I think Georgia Tech's bad, and he's probably the next coach to get fired if Auburn doesn't beat him to it. This is one I've gone back and forth over and over, but I'm going to join y'all with Michigan State because the injury news for the receiver for Minnesota that sucks. I mean, they're looking for they're looking for a 7th year for him, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to want it because that's got to suck. I mean, they've got possibly the best running back in football right now, but I don't think Tanner Morgan's good enough to make up for the loss because Michigan State's defense isn't terrible, even though Washington made it look like
they did.
Yeah.
But Michigan State coming off that drumming, I think they're going to put their foot in the ground here and keep this one close and probably win it. So I'm taking Michigan State. Jumping on Clemson, Wake Forest makes one mistake and then Clemson's able to take off with that. That defense is very good. Jumping on Cincinnati because Indiana sucks. It's bad. They needed 7 penalties and a missed field goal to get that to overtime and against Western Kentucky, and that's not a good sign. Navy is terrible, so ECU is a good play. I like this James Madison team. I don't know that Appalachian State's come down to earth yet after the last 2 weeks, so I'm jumping on James Madison +7. I think I might even sprinkle a little bit on the money line because I still think Appalachian State's heads in the clouds with that Hail Mary and game day and beating Texas A&M. It's
Very
just
possible.
But I like it more to the spot, and I think James Madison's been surprisingly good this year. Taking Miami of Ohio, got that over 7, so I'm going to jump on that before it goes back because Northwestern is bad.
Another one where you're getting a better number than we did.
Yeah,
which makes no sense. But again, just like the list of there were better numbers later in the week that all hit like Georgia Southern against Nebraska, and there's like a long laundry list of them. So whatever. Again, line movements just don't mean anything.
Yeah,
which is sad. Like it used to. Like that was like it kind of gave you some information. It wasn't like deterministic, but it used to be like in general it meant something, and now it's like it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And gamblers are creatures of habit too, so everybody follows line movement because that's what the guy before
that's what mattered for 20 years, whatever, 30 years, right? That mattered so much, and now it doesn't
matter. Everybody's got all the same information. I'm jumping on Utah here. I think you're on Arizona State, but I think Utah is still mad at that Florida loss, and they are going to demolish everybody whenever they can. And Arizona State is just got to be in shambles. Like I know losing Herm, but like I don't think the talent is there to stay with this Utah team.
So I'm gonna ask real quick, just so we all go on record here. On a scale of 1 to 10, Arizona State wins this game because the Pac-12 always somehow shoots itself in the foot and never even ends up in playoff contention. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised would you be if Arizona State wins this game?
Well, this isn't the game that you need to be talking about. You need to be talking about Oregon State and USC if that's the case.
Now, USC is a separate issue. I'm talking about because a Utah loss here would eliminate them from playoff contention, barring really crazy things happening.
Yeah. Surprised here for Arizona State to win, probably like 7 or 8, because I just don't see Utah's old and they don't make a lot of stupid mistakes. Minus the interception in Florida.
Where is this game at?
Where is Arizona State located?
Well, okay, so it's in Arizona State. Okay.
It's in Arizona State, yeah.
Okay. It'd probably be like an 8. I would be really surprised if Arizona State won this game.
Okay. I think Arizona State's got a chance to win this game. I think they've also got a chance to lose by 40. I think maybe being free from Herm might do a lot for them, you know.
Yeah.
But they also might just be terrible. Either one's very possible.
I mean, I know he didn't get fired on the field, but that video looks rough.
That video was bad. Yeah.
And that's just like
the body language. The body language said a lot.
I don't know that the locker room is a good place to be with or without Herm. And the looming NCAA stuff, I don't know how interested they are. I'm going to take Washington here. I think Milo Penix looks like, 2 years ago when Indiana had that good year?
2020.
Yeah. He looks like that kind of Michael Penix.
Better.
Yeah. So, and Stanford needed those 2 scores in the fourth quarter when USC quit trying to make that game even close. So I don't see that happening. Golly, I love this Oklahoma line. I'm probably going to end up putting 2 units on it, but because I just I don't get it. Like what in that Nebraska game made everybody go like Oklahoma's not that good? No, they Nebraska scored first. I guess is the only thing you can say.
That did happen.
And then after that, they reeled off like 49 straight.
Yeah.
Taking Ole Miss, just out of principle that they're a much better team. Going to take the under the Arkansas Texas A&M game. Texas A&M is allergic to points. I don't know where the logic Jimbo's got, that he doesn't need to score to win, but that's how he plays. And
a reporter basically asked him that, and he's like, "We play winning football." I was like, "Okay."
You're like, those are words.
Yes.
And he did form a sentence. Arkansas likes to run the ball. They're not very good at throwing the balls, and Texas Stadium's got a good defense. I don't see a lot of points happening. I can see this one like 14-17 kind of deal. Go to take Western Michigan because that number confuses me so much why that keeps moving up.
I grabbed it at 4.5, saying, "Hey, getting the win at 3 and 4 is crazy." Now it's up to 6.5 at minus 101.
Yeah,
I am flabbergasted at that number.
I'm waiting to see if that gets to 7 because it's been
inexplicable.
Well, it's been inexplicable to this point. Like,
I know.
I don't know. That is that one, and I know this is Jake's segment. Sorry, but that one, and then Kansas, but laying the 7 points with Kansas are the two that I'm waiting on.
Yeah. If either one of those get the 7, I'll probably add that to my list also.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, I'm all over Tennessee here. I think this is a 2 to 3 score game. Man, Tennessee has all sorts of pressure on them for this game, but they're built. It seems like they're built for it. Hooker, you got a 6-year quarterback with Hooker, Tillman, Hyatt's playing up to as well. Brew McCoy is playing very well. It seems from the injury standpoint that Tillman and Small are going to be playing, so that helps them out. I think the exposure for Wright last game when Small went out was really beneficial. Their defense is playing very well. The line is playing very, very well. I love Tennessee here. That environment is going to be insane. Like they're doing the whole checkered thing, which is always fun. But I mean that place gets so loud, and we're back to over 100,000 people. It's going to be crazy. And Florida, after somehow miraculously beating Utah and playing the game of his life, Anthony Richardson has forgot how to play quarterback. He's not been able to run the ball. He's thrown 2 interceptions against Kentucky and 2 against South Florida. I mean, his average QBR this year is like 35. It's bad. He hasn't played in this in Neyland here. I don't see anything happening for Florida in this. I think this could very well turn into a blowout real quick.
I'm with you on Tennessee. I agree. I back Tennessee. Jared, I feel like there's a homer joke in here somewhere. It's right there on the tip of my tongue.
But the thing is I can't say he's a homer because I basically had the same breakdown of the game that he had. So I can't say.
No, he is a homer, but it's not about that. I mean, it's just the joke's there. But yes, I completely agree. It's like Jake is the homer, but I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right on this one. I think that this is not a good spot for Florida. I feel like this line should be 14.
Yeah. I will say if this ends up being a tight game and like Tennessee loses, God forbid, it will be terrible for the rest of the year. Like there will be no saving the year. Now they win this and they win it big. I think the Alabama game becomes huge.
And there is your pitch to join us on the Discord channel Saturday afternoon, because if this goes south, Jake is going to be
just like automatically
just like crying on the Discord. It'll be a great scene. So there's your pitch to join us there, because I mean, what could go wrong, right? With my team Baylor being in a tight game at Iowa State to start, and then Jake's team Tennessee at 3:30. And then A&M playing Arkansas. I mean, this could get to some interesting content on the Discord just from our fan bases. All righty. Well, I think that is every game for week 4. We got you covered. The second episode was a little bit lighter, a little bit short. Hopefully you already saw that. We wrapped it up here. Gentlemen, any parting words?
None.
Basketball's coming. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Did we make it under 2 hours? What is the official
1:58 right now? So we have made it under 2 hours. And I was thinking about this. I asked you that question. Every viewer is going to see the time and know. Like they're gonna be like, yes, you did, or no, you didn't. Like we didn't know, but like they already knew. Yeah, they already knew the answer before we did, even though it was after, but before.
Yeah.
You're pushing it with the You got your last pull here.
No, we got this. We're sticking under 2 hours. That's like my goal is to not go over 2 hours for a single episode. Again, timestamps in the description. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, every game's been covered here this week. Check out the other episodes if you haven't yet. But otherwise, thanks for tuning into another episode of Picks with the Professor. Check out the website if you haven't yet. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel dropped right into your feed. We'll see you next week with more college football betting content. Still got baseball content 6 days a week. Lots happening here in the fall. And as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.